Hi everyone, welcome to Thanksgiving with a Twist. I'm here with Brooke Lark and I am so excited, we are both so excited to show you how you can create an amazing Thanksgiving feast in under 60 minutes and a delicious one, easy one, a wow the crowd one, and you can still do it in under 60 minutes. So this is going to be super fun and interactive, so feel free to throw your questions out there. I'll be looking for questions, Brooke will be too. Brooke's going to kick things off with her amazing double roasted chicken with apple cider and apples. It's fabulous. And then she's going to show you how you can do side dishes completely on a sheet pan with perfect results every time. And then I'm going to finish things off with a pumpkin cheesecake, a no-bake pumpkin cheesecake, so that you can whip it together a day before, the day of, and know that you don't have to turn the oven on and everyone will be wowed. So we think you're going to love these recipes. We can't wait to share them with you. One thing I want to note is that we are using GoodCook products, and there is a $500 gift card out there that you can try to win. So the link is in the description below if you want to try to register for that or try to win that. So without further ado, we're going to get started, and I'm going to let Brooke kick things off with her amazing chicken.
Robin, thank you so much. I'm so excited because I feel like what we're really doing is cooking Thanksgiving to get dinner together.
Yes.
And it's such an honor because I always am cooking Thanksgiving dinner alone. So I'm so glad to be with you in our kitchens today.
It's great. It's super fun. I think we're going to have a good time. And remember, folks at home, we are here for your questions. So we might be doing things that are not what you're used to or traditional, but this is a different year. I don't know what you're finding in your local grocery stores, but not everything's there. So having the ability to be flexible and let us help guide you through your Thanksgiving meal is what we're all about today. We're here to show you and help maybe you tweak your Thanksgiving meal for next week.
Perfect. So just to keep you and I on track, we have started a timer at the top of the show so that you and I can prove that all of these recipes can be made, baked, and ready to go in 60 minutes or less. The idea behind this, as we were talking at GoodCook about like, what do people really want or need this Thanksgiving? And at my house, what inevitably happens is we're constantly having that like traffic jam in the stove, right? And so you pull out the turkey and then you have to put in the rolls and then you have to put in the side dish and then which other side dish? And we were like, what if we could make it so that you as the chef, as the good cook in your kitchen could show up, prep everything with a glass of wine or hot apple cider in hand, stick it in the oven, enjoy yourself, and then it's all done and ready in 60 minutes. All of the same flavors that you already love. And so that is kind of the inspiration behind today. So like you said, let's start with a double roasted apple cider chicken. Since there is a turkey shortage this year, since a lot of people don't need to cook for those huge families and turkeys can take forever, we've just kind of taken the flavor of turkey. We're going to add an apple cider glaze right on top. And so I've prepped the glaze ahead of time. It only takes 10 minutes. It's apple cider, a little bit of Dijon, some garlic and rosemary. We just boil that down until it reduces. And we're going to use 2 roasting chickens and just pat them off with a paper towel.
You know, Brooke, in the essence of time,
Yes.
That glaze could be simmering while you're getting the chickens ready, getting them in the roasting pan, or while you're prepping something else. So, making maximum use of that time while you're in the kitchen. So that 10 minutes is really used for something else while it's simmering down and getting nice and glazy.
Yeah, exactly. And what I love about this glaze is like that could sound like it's a big deal. It's literally like dump in the pot, boil until it gets kind of nice and thick and syrupy. You can kind of see as we glaze that it's this beautiful syrup. And it's so simple. So yes, we're gonna wipe off our rotisserie chicken, our baked chickens with some paper towel because that's gonna help us get a nice crust. Season it with a little bit of salt and pepper. We're gonna do this again at the end. and then just take this glaze and put it right on top. And I just like to make sure that it covers all of the edges of the chicken because, you know, you want that skin to have all of that yummy flavor. And this combination of apple cider, that little kind of tang of mustard, not only does it taste incredible, but it browns really, really beautifully. So when these come out in just about 60 minutes, they are just crazy beautiful. So there we go. That is on. We're going to give it another little salt, another little pepper. And we're baking this today in the GoodCook V roasting pan. And so you can kind of see that the edges of this come in. And so it's just beautiful for fitting everything in. Once you get your meat in there, it doesn't slide. And what I particularly love about this is the edges of this pan have been made to be like extra wide. So you can really easily fit your hands in oven mitts and you're not going to slip or slide. So these bad boys are ready to go in the oven, and then we'll start on side dishes. Isn't that just unbelievably simple?
That's so simple. I think those flavors would work with a turkey tenderloin. I mean, they would obviously work with a turkey, I'm sure, and it would be fantastic. But in the essence of time, if we're trying to do a streamlined version and have them cook in an hour, I bet turkey tenderloin would be fantastic with that glaze.
Yes, I completely agree. I think any poultry pairs so nicely with apple cider. Yeah. You can also stuff these. The recipe on the website has you stuffing the inside of the chickens with some apple and some rosemary and some cinnamon sticks. And so it's just, you know, it's such a beautiful, savory little dish. And yeah, it's so quick.
Yes.
So, okay, are we ready for the next thing? We're already, Robin, we're already done with the first part.
I know. Well, I don't see any questions so far for that, but I do have a question, or I'll just throw it out there in case anybody's thinking about it and not asking. If you wanted to stuff it, Brooke, you could, right? You would, but you wouldn't do it until right before you bake, and then you add 2 minutes per pound or so to the cooking time. So if you have a favorite stuffing, it's stuffing when it's stuffed in, it's dressing when it's cooked on the side. If you have your favorite and you want to put it in that chicken, go for it.
Yeah, and the great news is because we're trying to do this in under 60 minutes, we're still going to create all of those stuffing flavors as a dressing on our sheet pan side dish. So this, I think, may be the single most glorious way to do side dishes for Thanksgiving. We're going to start with this GoodCook 21 by 15 inch pan. So it's like, here's a standard pan. We're going to use this big bad boy. And what I love
those
about
big
this,
bad boys.
I know, it's amazing.
Oh, you're talking about cooking.
I thought you were too. Yeah, these giant pans, I love them because they fill your oven and use up all of the space. And so we're going to create this Thanksgiving 4 side dishes on this one giant sheet pan. And the way that we're going to do it is I've made these little tinfoil trays, and I'm just going to slide them right in here.
That's so smart. I love that idea.
No, it's just fun. And also, on top of just making these lovely little containers for baking each of our 4 side dishes, cleanup is just like awesome and done.
I love it.
So not only are we doing Thanksgiving Fest, we are making it so that you don't even have to do dishes. It's amazing.
Excellent. Brooke, real quick question. Can you put those, once you glaze those chickens, can you put them in a smoker? That's a question from, I can't read the name. It is a question, though. I'm not making it up. Can you put them in the smoker?
Yeah, so I am not a smoker, but I can imagine that you could. I would love to know what people at home, if you are big into smoking, can you invite me over? Can I come and have a and then you tell us if it works, but I can't see why it wouldn't.
Yeah, same. Agreed.
Yeah. Do you smoke, Robin? Do you
I
ever
do not.
smoke?
And my only thing with smoking would be, I drink, but no. My only thing with smoking would be the sugar in your glaze. So I don't know if that So it's pretty, it's got some sweetness to it, so I'm wondering, but because I have not done with a heavy sugar glaze in a smoker. So
yeah, that sounds absolutely delicious though.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's what we're gonna do. In each of our 4 little sections, we are going to do 4 of our favorite side dish flavors. So we're gonna start with potatoes au gratin, and there are a couple of ways that we're gonna do this. We've got, standard potatoes. I really like these Yukon Gold ones because I think they're just a little more tender and delicious. I've sliced them with these beautiful GoodCook knives. Can we talk about having colored knives in your kitchen? How absolutely delightful this is. I love giving these. There's a whole slew of colors in these GoodCook knives, and I love tying them up and giving them to people as like hostess gifts or thank you gifts for having me come over to dinner. And especially at the holidays, it's just such a nice, bright and cheery way to say thank you for letting me come over. And then so useful. So you can also slice these potatoes. We're gonna slice them really, really thin, about 1.5 pounds of them. And you can also slice them in a mandolin if you really wanna save time. And once those are in our bowl, we're just gonna add some melted butter and some heavy cream and Parmesan. So really, really simple.
Did you know, Brooke, you mentioned giving knives as a gift. Did you know that when you receive knives as a gift, you should give a penny back in return? Did you ever hear that tradition?
I never heard that.
That's so you don't sever the friendship?
Oh my heavens to Betsy, that's the cutest thing ever.
So
Robin,
if you get knives for a gift this holiday season, keep a penny handy.
That is so lovely. I love that. So this is already done. We've just mixed those all in with Parmesan and butter, and we just mix the potatoes until they're really happy.
So it's like reconstructed scallop potatoes.
It is. Yeah,
I love it.
I like to add a little Parmesan on top, a little salt, a little pepper, and those potatoes au gratin will be ready to rock and roll as soon as we finish our 2 more of our sides. So the next thing is obviously, what is your favorite sweet side dish for things?
I'm a big sweet potato fan. So I do the mashed potatoes for my boys, and I make extra sweet potatoes for me, roasted. I like a little maple Dijon glaze.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Well, perfect timing, because next up is sweet potatoes for our sheet pan. Because I don't think Thanksgiving is Thanksgiving without a sweet potato, personally. So this is kind of a fun way to prepare these. What I've done is used the GoodCook veggie dicer. This is one of my favorite kitchen tools. Doesn't have to be plugged in, so it doesn't take up counter space. And what we do is, when you open it up, it just has these little dicing blades. And so you can take a sweet potato, cut it to the thickness that you want. So I did right about 1/2 inch thick. Then you just stick it on, press it down, and it dices. The sweet potatoes are a little bit.
Sweet potatoes are tough cookies for sure.
I know.
That Yukon Gold would have gone right through there. There you go.
So just dice these. And I mean, sometimes you have to get, this is also like a really nice anger management tool. So you're going to have the most peaceful holidays ever. And so once we get those diced, this holds up to 4 cups. And then you just can pour it right out of the bottom like that. And we're just going to put some butter, brown sugar, salt, and pepper in here. And then stick that on our sheet pan too.
Love it.
And I love you have maple syrup. You could also add some maple syrup, like wine. And you said Dijon?
I do, yeah, it's like a combination, because it's like a sweet, tangy balance that I love to pull the sweetness from the sweet potatoes. Yeah, it's definitely on my menu this year.
That sounds so. And are you a sweet potato marshmallow person?
I'm more of a non-traditional so the green bean bake I don't usually do. I'll do roasted, and when it comes to the sweet potatoes, they're roasted nuggets with that glaze. But traditional when it comes to stuffing and the mashed potatoes. So, and I'm encouraging everyone to mix it up this year, because this is for the first year my son is in college, and he's not going to come home for Thanksgiving because he doesn't have enough time off. So I'm also rethinking what do I do? Can I scale it down? Should I scale it up and have more people? Which is the way I went. But so I'm trying to think of things too. So we should all just keep our minds open to change this year, and it could create a whole new tradition.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, I think that this being the first kind of real Thanksgiving back, it's always nice to do tradition, but there is certainly something kind of fresh and fun about saying, like, we're going to try traditional sides but new flavors, or we're going to combine grandma's favorite recipe with these new. I mean, we have access to so many favorite global flavors now, and so I think that Thanksgiving is such a fun time to celebrate all of those classics like potatoes and sweet potatoes, but then lend a little like zhuzh to it. So
yeah, agreed. That looks really pretty, Brooke.
I know, isn't this fun already? I mean,
yeah.
Look at how gorgeous this is. All right, we have one more thing. We are going to get to green beans, but they come in a little bit later, so I'll just kind of talk you through how we're going to do those. But the other thing is the dressing stuffing. So I've just diced a big, beautiful sourdough loaf, and so we've got some, little diced breads. We're going to add some butter to this.
Was that day old, or was it fresh, or does it matter?
It really doesn't matter.
Okay.
I think that it's kind of fun to make it day old, just because you can prep that the night before.
Yeah.
But I've made it both with fresh and day old, and it works beautifully because we're going to add chicken broth to it, right? So we really kind of reconstitute it anyway. So if you do have stale old bread, rock and roll, use that. We're going to add some pancetta. You could also add sausage. What do you put in your
mine's vegetarian. I've tried all different varieties. I've done sausage, and I've done ham, even I've done bacon, oysters, and I always go back to apples, celery, and lots of sage. Just full on, and then because there's so many other elements at the table with protein, so this is a bread dish.
Yes, I think that's a great way to go. Yeah. I added an egg. I'm also going to toss in some pecans because I think the pecans with the saltiness of pancetta is so nice. And then just for some color, I am going to add some fresh cranberries, but you can also use candy cranberries. That combination of like sweet and salty and nutty, I just think makes an absolutely beautiful dressing.
Yeah. And
I'm going to toss in some celery. I've had people ask, like, don't I have to saute the celery ahead of time? And you really don't, because it's going to bake, in the same time that we are going to soften the potatoes and the sweet potatoes. Your celery is going to get nice and soft. So,
and I love the flavor. Yeah, and the flavor of roasted vegetables is so different too, because they caramelize instead of steam in a saute pan. So I think that roasted celery would be amazing.
That's a great point. See, Robin, I should cook Thanksgiving with you every year. You're so brilliant. Okay, so the last thing that goes in our dressing, and then, we have to talk slower. These are so easy. We're all
well. I'll take a long time on the pie, I promise.
Good. No, we've got plenty to do. And I have so many questions about what you do for Thanksgiving anyway, so we'll get there. So this is one of my ever eternally most favorite Thanksgiving tools, or GoodCook tools, and it is called the garlic rock and roll. And so one of the things that makes me absolutely crazy is when my fingers smell like garlic for the rest of the month, because I've been cooking for everyone that I love. Yeah. And so this garlic rock and roll is so brilliant. You only ever have to touch the edges of this little disc. And so we take peeled garlic, we stick that on a chopping board, and you just rock and roll it back and forth like this. And it just finely minces your garlic and gathers it together inside of this little, you see this? Look at this. It gathers it together all minced and beautiful. And we can keep doing it until it's, until we have all of the garlic. And I love doing this. Like if I know I'm going to put garlic in a bunch of dishes, I'll just chop this entire bowl until it's completely ready to rock.
You're so right. That's one of those prep You know, even though I'm a chef and a food writer, that's one of those prep steps that you're right. The garlic for years on your hands, and then, you know, on the cutting board, and yeah.
Yeah, and you know, to just be able to touch this, we're starting to get some more garlic. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead, and you can actually just tap it like this. So you literally don't even need to touch the bowl, but we're gonna just mix that garlic in there.
So there was a question about the pecans. Did you put salted? Were they salted or were they not salted?
These were just raw chopped pecans.
Oh, okay, so not salty. Okay.
I I will use everything salt. Like if I want salted butter and extra salt. And so that's kind of a personal preference. If you just really like, you know, a really nice salty dressing, then feel free to use salted pecans. You're not going to mess it up. Hold on one second.
And somebody else wrote in they add Kahlua to their sweet potatoes, which makes so much sense. That sounds delicious.
Oh, that's so fun.
I'm liking this. Amazing. I love these tips. Keep them coming, folks, at home.
Delicious. All right, so that's going in there. Excuse me. The last thing, so these are going to go in and bake for 20 minutes. And while you're working on the pie, I will finalize the green beans. So the green beans are really similar to the au gratin potatoes. We're just going to add some cream, a little bit of butter, some Parmesan, and 20 minutes before everything's done, we'll add these to the sheet pan because they don't need quite as much time to bake. And
perfect.
You know, yeah, and we want them to stay that like beautiful green color, so we don't want to overbake them. And then at the tail end, we'll just toss some French fried onions on top. So I really like this version because it's a little bit like green bean casserole, but it feels just maybe a little more elevated.
Yeah,
you don't have to use
it. Are they blanched first or are they raw?
These are just raw.
Oh, okay.
I'm telling you, we just, like every one of these recipes, we tried and tested to make it as crazy simple as possible.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's just so little prep time. You should be able to get this stuff, chop this stuff, prep it, and then, like I said, you know, grab your wine and like go hang. So, all right, I'm gonna stick this stuff in and bake it, and then I'm passing it over to you, Robin. We're done.
So we're doing dessert before we even get to sample Brooke's dinner, but I love this recipe too because it's no bake. So I don't know what your traditional, and I'm looking at your questions here, so you can put your questions and comments out. What your traditional dessert is. I know pumpkin pie is traditional, and so is apple pie and some others, but you can let us know. For me, I normally do a pumpkin pie, and this year, now that my son's not coming home, I'm wondering, do I make 2 big pies or something like this where I can make it in advance. So we usually do a race in the morning, a turkey trot. So this way I can make it in it. The pie is usually the one thing I have left to do on Thanksgiving and then finish up other things. So this I could do a day in advance or 2 days, or I could do it that day, pop it in the fridge, and I know it will be perfect. So if you're looking for something different this year, it's a combination of 2 favorite flavors, cheesecake and pumpkin pie. So it's pumpkin cheesecake. And all the ingredients are right in front of me. So most of them are pantry staples. Or you can run out. I was a little concerned at the beginning of shopping this year that there was going to be a canned pumpkin shortage, but it appears there's not. I've been able to find that. So I'll start with the crust. So I have 2.5 cups of just mashed graham crackers. So you can cheat and get a box of the pre-mashed graham cracker crumbs, which saves you a whole step, or you can take a bunch of sleeves and just mash them with your hands. And these are coarsely chopped, so I'm gonna roll my sleeves up a little bit and just kind of get my hands in there. You want coarse crumbs, and you will turn this into a fantastic graham cracker crust, which is one that doesn't need to bake. So I'll give this a little bit more of, you can see that there. You can see also my white shirt hanging out. See, that's how casual we are. We're very
You're
casual.
So stylish.
So yeah, this is fun. Just like Brooke smashing the sweet potatoes, this is a fun thing. I love when my kids were little. I always got them in to help with projects like this. I would have them snipping herbs with their little, child-safe scissors and getting their hands into things like this. They're clean hands.
Robin, what's
Yes.
your favorite way to create graham cracker crust? Like, do you prefer food processing? Do you actually prefer to roll it? Because I know there are a lot of ways to. But
I
what have
do
you
it
found?
exactly the way I'm going to do it here when I do it at home. I do cheat sometimes and get the crumbs, just a box of crumbs and not the crackers. I'll cheat that way because they're super fine, or I can use the food processor to get the crackers into crumbs. That saves a step, but then you have to clean the food processor. So by the time you clean that, you could have just mashed it with your hands. I see what you mean, the rolling pin. So yeah, putting the crackers in a freezer bag, a Hardy zip top freezer bag, and smashing them with the rolling pin and then rolling with the rolling pin makes really good crumbs too. So.
And what I should say about this recipe that you're about to make, which I think is kind of the secret magic of this recipe, is that I believe you're using cinnamon grams, right?
I am.
Yeah. So I love it. I had a friend years ago that won pie contests, and like for several years in a row. And the trick was she started putting scents or flavors inside the pie crust.
Yes.
And so she would add vanilla bean or whatever. So I always think it's really nice when you think you know what you're getting in a crust, but it's like a little like ging.
Yep. You don't expect it. You know, when I've done, the chocolate cookie crusts, I have ground hazelnuts in there too. So there's a great way to sneak flavor into. That's a great point. Yeah, either things like vanilla or almond, or those hazelnuts that went right in and made a super buttery crust. Okay.
Love that.
So there's the crumbs. This is a stick of butter melted. So when you melt this, you can do it in a small saucepan over low heat or in your microwave. If you're going to do it in the microwave, definitely cover it because it will splatter. And you could, if you use a high-sided bowl and cut the butter into smaller pieces, there's less chance it will explode in your microwave. So just a little tip there. I've cleaned many a microwave. And this is a half a cup of light brown sugar packed into the cup. Just give that a little. If you have brown sugar that's gone hard on you while it sat in the pantry and you know who you are, and that happens to me too, you can put it in the microwave 20 seconds. It softens it up. It'll help measure for you, and then the next time you'll probably have to do it again. But I always take the bag of brown sugar once I've opened it, seal it tight, and then put it in a zip top bag just to make sure that it doesn't dry out. Because I don't know if you've ever made cookies where you've had a lump of brown sugar that won't go away and you just can't get it to go away. In this case, we have warm butter, so it will really help to soften anything that wasn't. But this was a fresh bag, so. All right, this is coming together.
One of those parts of the recipe where you're really glad that you get to lick your fingers.
Yes.
Like, don't you just think butter in crushed graham crackers is like one of the greatest flavors of all time?
I know, and just the smell here of just, the buttery and the cinnamon and the graham crackers, it's like summer camp almost, like all those great smells. So I have so this is an important thing. This is a deep dish pie that I'm going to make, or cheesecake. So a deep dish pie plate, if you have one, is ideal. And I love this because we're going to make it in it, we're going to put it in the refrigerator, and it goes straight to the table. Beautiful. It's got the ruffled edges. So it does all the presentation work for you, making your life so much easier. And so then you take this mixture, and we're just going to press it into the bottom. Oops, didn't all make it in there. Into the bottom and up the sides of this deep dish. Has anybody out there made a pie where you didn't read the instructions and it said deep dish and it overflowed? I have done that.
I have done that plenty of time.
So I'm going to make sure you note that this is deep dish. So if there's any questions, I'm looking right here. Oh, somebody said yum. So there we go.
Super, yes. And I love, this is one of the things with homemade no bakes is I always love when there's a really nice sizable amount of crust. Because I do think the crust is sometimes the most fun part. So I love how thick that is, that you get that entire dish full.
Yes. I agree. Yeah. I'm a double crust fan as well. And I often, when I have time, will make my own because when you get the store-bought, which I also use, the store-bought pre-made refrigerated pie crusts, they are really thin. So for someone who, like, I almost want a sugar cookie under my pie.
Yeah.
So that I often make my own and make it a little bit sweeter. But in a pinch, I believe I have a box in my refrigerator right now. So
and that is one of those kind of nice things to just have in your kitchen, right?
Yeah, just to have, because I mean, I think I made empanadas last week with it, so there's multiple uses.
Yes.
Let's see if I can.
Yeah, you never know when
I didn't even think about. I have a paper towel right here. Yep, this is the fun part when you watch me wash my hands. So now we're going to make the filling, and it's super easy combination of cream cheese, pumpkin, sweetened condensed milk, a little vanilla, and pumpkin pie spice. So as I go through what's going in here, if you have any questions about substitutions or things that you can do to make it suitable for you, or if you don't want to have to run to the store and you want to make it today, just throw those questions out there and I will peek over and get to those. But so in this mixer, I already have a package of cream cheese. That is softened to room temperature because you want it to get creamy and aerate, and when it's cold, it won't do that. So I have already 8 ounces of cream cheese. You can use light and you can use regular. I wouldn't recommend fat-free here, but definitely you can use light. And I'm going to get that a little creamy first. I'm not going to talk over the mixer in case it's a little loud, but I'm just going to get this a little creamy.
And while you do that, I'm going to add the green beans to the sheet pan and then throw them back in to kind of finish this process over here.
So the green beans are going in now? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stick them on.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So that really, I just wanted to get that the cream cheese into the bottom of the pan, kind of smooth. Then I'm going to add this can of pumpkin. Not pumpkin pie filling, just pureed pumpkin. And if you are one of those at home that likes to use your own and roast the pumpkin, you need 1.5 cups of pumpkin. And the recipe is below. So, and for those of you who are used to PDF downloadable recipes, those are coming. For right now, the recipes are just, you can find them right below where you found to get here. So that goes in with 2 tablespoons of pumpkin pie spice. If you don't have pumpkin pie spice, which is a combination of cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, different brands vary, you can use mostly cinnamon and a pinch of allspice, cloves, nutmeg, a little bit of ginger if you want. This is kind of one of those things I like to do my own custom pumpkin pie spice. I love lots of cinnamon and a little bit of nutmeg and a little bit of cloves, and I often leave the ginger out. So that's really a personal preference. So I'll get 2 tablespoons. I measure in my hands. So I've been doing this a while. I have every once in a while someone will ask me to prove it, and so I'll scoop it from my hand into the measuring. And it's usually pretty close.
Yeah, isn't that fun? We've actually done that before where my kids will say, a 1/2 cup of flour, and I will eyeball it. Yeah. And then they'll pour it into the cup. It's actually kind of a fun family game.
Yeah, if you've done it, and when it comes to baking, you have to be a little bit more precise, but yeah, it's fun, and you've done it in a while. So now I'm going to make more noise, and we're going to get this to a smooth puree. Show you what this looks like. The cream cheese needs to, can you get in there? No. It needs to blend a little better. So I'm going to keep going. Just want you to see what that looks like now. But it's also good to stop and scrape down the sides of your bowl frequently because the cream cheese loves to hang out there on the sides and get stuck, and you want it incorporated with the pumpkin and the seasoning. So, Brooke, if you wanted to, I'll make some noise with this mixer if you have something you want to talk about those green beans.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, since we have a little bit of time, one of the other really quick, easy things that we do at our house as everybody's kind of waiting for food, is we'll put together a charcuterie plate. And so I was just going to show like the most basic secret that I've learned about making a perfectly quick charcuterie. And that is, we get, you know, a pretty wooden cutting board. This one is from GoodCook, and I love the size and shape of it. It's just tiny. It has this beautiful little edge. I put a soft cheese and a hard cheese. So this is a tea cheddar, and this is just a basic blue. And then I think that if you just put some fruits right on there, like I really love blackberries this time of year because I think the color is so beautiful. And we'll just kind of cluster it. Yeah, we have these, we have a couple of really great tips on how to build a beautiful charcuterie that just went up on goodcook.com. So if this is something that you really want to master and you want to get fun, I think it's just such a great art form.
It's really
and,
pretty.
you know, for Thanksgiving, it's so nice to sit it out and let people just kind of pick and enjoy the waiting period before the food comes. I also think this time of year adding some sliced apples. So I've just sliced these apples. And one of the biggest tricks that I learned to making beautiful charcuterie is you kind of cluster the items. And so, you know, if you put apples here, then you also put apples here, kind of in a diagonal, and you cannot make a not beautiful charcuterie.
That's really pretty. You know, in a pinch, I have pulled leaves off my trees and just added them too. I have.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So whether you have fall foliage right now, or I think I had used some citrus leaves that are super shiny, and that was really super pretty too. So.
And you know, Robin, funny that you say that because fresh herbs to me are like the ultimate secret. So I'm just going to add some nuts, and then I'll show you this plate with and without fresh herbs. Just adding that little bit of life does make all the difference, doesn't it? It's just so pretty when you add the
great
little bits of
Not
green.
that people need more food, but you never know. So
you never know. Well, and what I do love about charcuterie is that it just sits out all day. So
yeah,
I don't know if you can see this. So here it is. You know, starting to look so pretty. I'm going to add a little bit of this is like a fig jam, because I think charcuterie with a little fruit, some nuts, some pretty crackers, and then we can just really kind of finish it off with some pretty herbs. And look at the difference the herbs make.
So good. I'm going to turn this mixer on so I can finish the pie.
Let's go for it. Which paddle are you using for this? Are you using the big flat paddle or the whisk paddle?
I'm using the big flat paddle. So I typically save the whisk for whipped cream. It's coming together. So then to this, I'm going to add 2 cans of sweetened condensed milk. While the mixer is running, just to make sure everything gets in blended. So one of the questions was, can you make this dairy-free? And there are so many wonderful dairy-free products out there, so yes. I say if you, whether it's soy-based or oat milk-based, or, you know, what you need to replace is cream cheese, which you can find vegan. And you can find most of these things vegan. So if you wanted to make this dairy-free pumpkin cheesecake, you definitely can.
Do they have dairy-free sweetened condensed milk?
Pardon me? Well, you could you would make your own vegan sweetened condensed milk. You can, and those that are vegan know how to do that. They do lots of things with cashew cream that work well, coconut sugar, all kinds of fun things that you can do to make it vegan. So I do a lot of vegan recipes for folks, and there's always a way. That's my motto. Yeah. There's always a way.
Yes, okay. It's really fun to kind of learn those little tricks and hacks for sure.
Yes. All right, I'm going to see if I can get this paddle out. And I need to fold in. Now here's another dairy product that is also, you can also find vegan, I have seen, and it's the frozen, believe it or not, the frozen whipped topping. So you need to thaw it overnight. And yes, we are using a cheat ingredient, but it's a time and lifesaver. And it really makes for a fluffy pie. So, I mean, it also kind of reminds me of a kid. My grandmother used to make a non-traditional key lime pie, and she made it with, she lived in the Florida Keys, so she had fresh key limes, a can of sweetened condensed milk, and a container of Cool Whip. And everybody was like, oh, the best pie ever. And there was 3 ingredients.
That does sound so good. Well, so I imagine that you could, if you have like a chronic issue with the store-bought whipped cream, you could probably make your own, right?
Yeah, you could definitely make your own. And yeah, absolutely. I'm going to put in, so to keep this light and fluffy, this calls for 12 ounces, well, 2 8-ounce containers. So there's 12 ounces that go in, and then the rest can be dolloped on top if you want, or you can buy a 12-ounce container. What I like to do is take a little bit of it first, a little bit of the whipped topping while it's still light and airy, and fold it in so that we don't dump it all in and have it all lose its aeration. So this makes a fluffier cream cheese, cheesecake filling, and then I can add the rest. So we don't just, you know, it's just like you would do with egg whites. You don't want to kind of get rid of all the air by putting it, dumping it all in at once.
One of the great secrets of that Cool Whip is you do want to, or whipped topping in general, is you do want to make sure that you've thawed it completely, because if you're trying to use it while it's half frozen, it turns into like a mucky mess.
Yes.
So, you know, make sure that you put it in the fridge the night before.
The night before, follow the instructions on the package. Don't try to rush it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I've been there too, and it just kind of gets watery. And so look how light and fluffy this is. I mean, it's creamy, and it's got all those, I know Brooke keeps talking about those warm and comforting flavors that we love of the season. So pumpkin, cinnamon, the allspice and nutmeg that are in the pumpkin pie spice, sweetness. And then if you wanted to, I have garnishes set out here, but you can drizzle this with a warm caramel topping and some pecans or walnuts or whatever nuts of the season you like. So look at this. Isn't that fantastic?
So yummy.
You see why you need a deep dish pie plate?
Yes. It's just more cheesecake for you, everyone.
Well, what we could do, and here's for those of you that are gluten-free out there, and there are plenty, this would make a fantastic pumpkin cheesecake mousse. So instead of putting it on the graham cracker crust, you put it in a series of little jars or glasses or little Pyrex bowls, dollop of whipped cream right before serving, and now you have pumpkin mousse for the holidays, and this would serve 12 people. So that's another great thing, and I know I have a lot of gluten-free followers, and they're always looking for a way to get what everybody else has without gluten.
Yes, for sure. While you are doing that, Robin, I'm going to stick the French fried onions on top of my sheet pan. And just a minute ago, I just switched the sheet pan to the top of the oven so that we could get a little bit of browning on top. But everything is still sitting in the oven, and it's looking beautiful. French fried onions are going on top of the green beans, and then
are you doing the store-bought French fried onions? Are those crispy?
Yeah,
the traditional
and do you have another one that you like better?
No, I do not. Is there another one? I mean, I think there are some store-bought brands, right? But I have not seen. I usually, well, you know what? I actually love to do discs of Parmesan cheese. You know, you roast them in the oven for 3 to 5 minutes, and they become those Parmesan crisps.
Oh,
I like to sprinkle those over.
Yummy, yummy, yummy. That's incredible.
Okay, so how easy was this? I mean, I talked more than I cooked for the most part. Let's get that where you can see it, and I'll clean off the sides here. So again, this is pops in the refrigerator until it firms up, and you can cut slices, or if you were doing mousse, you could serve it right away. So you don't even need to wait. And you could do this up to 2 days in advance, cover it with plastic wrap, before you do any dollops. Wait till it's firm on top, and then you would take an extra container of, or your favorite whipped topping, and put some dollops on, which I will do. And you can drizzle some warm caramel sauce over top. It looks fantastic. And some chopped nuts would be pretty. Oops, some already went on.
There we go.
Well, now I'm going to make it look like I meant to do that. So.
Beautiful. And if you are trying to cook this as quickly as we are, you could certainly stick that in the freezer and just firm it up really fast.
Yeah, because the Cool Whip will go right back to its original form. You know, it's happy to be in there. That's where it came from. So.
Yes, delicious. Well, I thought, while you kind of finish garnishing your side of things, I was going to show you how I love to prep garnishes for savory things. The GoodCook herb mincer is this wild little tool with a handle. It's got 5 different blades, and this is like, how fun is this? We're just going to pull some fresh rosemary off because, you know, those fresh herbs just finish dishes off so nicely. And then to use this, you just literally roll it like this, back and forth, and it minces all of your herbs in seconds. And if I didn't keep pulling them off, they would work beautifully. And then it has this like little slider tool, so you can kind of pull all of the herbs together and just mince until you have it exactly where you want it. And once done, we can scoop them here and then put them on top of our dishes. So I thought a little bit of rosemary on top of the sweet potatoes would be really nice. I've got some fresh herbs for some fresh thyme for the stuffing. And the only other thing that I need to do over here is check and make sure that the chicken is on track to be finished. So I'm going to pull that out, and I'm going to use the GoodCook digital thermometer to make sure that we're on track with a properly cooked chicken.
That sounds good. I love those. I swear by the thermometers. I use them probably 5 or 6 days a week, whether it's poultry, steak. I did it for pork last week. I've done it for seafood. So when in doubt, it's always good to check the temperature. I'm just over here playing with the pie and reading questions, and there's some good ones. So I think we covered the vegan way to make this pie vegan. I've seen people say there's vegan cream cheese, for sure we know that. There's a dairy-free sweetened condensed milk. And there's another great idea for making this a parfait, a gluten-free parfait with layers of this fantastic filling, gluten-free spice wafers, more of this pumpkin cheesecake, and whipped cream on top. So gluten-free,
I love that.
amazing. And then if you wanted a gluten-free vegan one, you could use all the ingredients that everybody's sharing in the chat box. And these are some great ideas. See, we're all in this Thanksgiving together, and we have some great ideas.
We need to gather our chicken smoker and our gluten-free person all get together and do as a second time together.
Yes.
So to test this, Robin, like I said, I'm going to use the GoodCook digital thermometer. And what I love about this is it has this little probe that tucks away. And so we just open that up and it reads instantly in 3 seconds. And so we're just going to go ahead and stick this right in here. I've already got a read. And we've got to get this to, if you have one of those moments where you're like, wait, where does my poultry need to be safe? The back of the thermometer actually tells you that we need to get this to 165 degrees. We're at 150 right now. So I'm going to stick it in for just 4 minutes. I love this thing because once it's done, you can wash the probe off. And then it has a little magnet. So you can just stick this on your refrigerator so that when you're cooking, you're not like, where is that thing? It can just sit there and wait for you. So it's a great little tool.
And that's, just for reference, all poultry, no matter what you're making, whether it's next week, if it's chicken, turkey, thighs, breasts, drumsticks, whole birds, chicken breast in the oven, everything needs to be to 165. That's just across the board, easy to remember, 165 for poultry. And Brooke's right, the thermometers will always tell you, well, what is it if you want a medium rare steak and things like that. But for sure with poultry, you don't want to underdo it. But that said, it's at 60, so technically, if you could pull the chicken out, because food, when you pull it from the oven, increases by 5 degrees it keeps cooking after you remove it from the oven. I always wait till it's 165 like Brooke is doing, just to be safe, and then it often goes to 170 once it sits on the counter, because you do need to let it rest before you carve into it. So I just made a couple of dollops. I literally used a spoon just to do little fun dollops on top. So if you want to do that, you could do that, or you could get a piping bag and pipe your whipped cream on top. You could leave the whipped cream off, obviously. And then this caramel sauce is not quite warm, so it won't drizzle as well, but I'm gonna get it on here. Anyway, if you wanted to, you would just put this in the microwave for 10 or 20 seconds and you would get a nice drizzle on here. But I mean, caramel sauce is caramel sauce, so it doesn't matter how you slice it. It's going to be fantastic with pumpkin and graham crackers and these pecans. So I think
gorgeous.
I think I won, Brooke. I beat you. Dessert before dinner.
Autumn. I'm loving it. Oh, I think that we should switch locations. I want to be at where you are so I can taste that. And then
I really want to try that chicken. I'm just a big chicken gal.
Yeah, and the cider just browns it so beautifully. So one of the things that I really love about this pan as well is you can serve right out of it. It's metal utensil safe. And so what I really love with this chicken is I get these tiny little rocket apples, and I just stick them around once it comes out to give it this, nice little garnishing. You can add some lemons because that's part of our meal, and then just some fresh herbs again to garnish it. You can garnish it right in the pan, make it look absolutely gorgeous. And
I love serving right from a pan. Love.
Yes, and with just the little herbs on top, you will literally feel like you are, the artistic director for a magazine spread. But of course, it's your own house, and you are absolutely winning Thanksgiving.
That looks fantastic. I can't even believe that. And I mean, I knew we would do it, but it looks stellar. I mean, it looks like we spent all day on it. I knew we'd get there, but yeah.
I'm going to stick some rosemary here. I'm going to throw some thyme. Oh, I have to steal some thyme from over here. I think thyme on top of the potatoes just looks really pretty. It's also really beautiful on top of the stuffing. And there you go.
There's a question about the temperature.
Yes.
Temperature question. Where do you test? So you want to test usually they say in the deepest part, not touching the bone, which is often between the leg and the breast in there. And that's usually what takes the longest. So I always kind of check multiple different places. But the deepest part of the chicken, not touching the bone, is where you're going to get your accurate temperature. And 165 is what you're going for.
Yes, and I'm gonna pull this out and try to show you how really quickly I wanna wash this off. So you're not gonna be able to see the actual temperature, but look at how big and beautiful these numbers are. So it's really, really easy to read.
Love that one.
I love that. I love this thermometer so much.
Would that apple cider glaze work on ham? Asking for a friend. No, I'm asking.
Yeah.
It's a question.
That sounds absolutely amazing.
I agree.
And I like to double the glaze, so I'll actually put a second layer of glaze on the outside, which I need to find where here's the glaze. So you can obviously just making sure that you're not glazing it with the same utensil, because you don't want your raw utensil, but adding just a nice little glaze on top, because the flavor is just so good that I really don't just want it baked in. I want to really, really taste it. Yeah. So feel free to double that. You really can't go wrong here.
Yeah. And for those at home that are super excited about all these beautiful GoodCook products, remember you can enter to win a $500 gift card for GoodCook products. So the details are in the description below, and you can, I wish you luck and hope you win, but $500 is a great way to get a lot of GoodCook goodies.
So many goodies, and they make, I mean, everything that we use today, from, the measuring utensils to these like wonderfully creative little gadgets to those beautiful bowls behind you.
Yes, and the pie plate. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Enter to win. This is like your holiday gift to yourself.
That's great. Let me see, do we have any more questions? Where can we find the recipes? So if you're used to Craftsy, normally there's a downloadable PDF that will be available for right now. Just scroll down. They're there for you if you want to make your shopping list. You have everything that you need for now, and then the PDF versions will be forthcoming soon.
Perfection. Robin, we have 4 minutes left. We totally did it.
What?
Should we taste test? All right. I'm going to taste the sweet potatoes first. Are you going to dive into that pie?
Well, I can't. I mean, it's too. I can't dive into.
Not ready.
I want it to be
pie.
firm, but I'm going to taste the. You can use this.
Sweet potatoes are tender.
What was left in the bowl?
Sugary and sweet, and I love the little diced. Okay, potatoes.
Yum.
They are.
And the pie is like a trip down memory lane for me. I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like I'm sitting by a warm fire, crackling fire with hot cider and a nice piece of pie. I mean, it's one of those that like brings a tear to your eye.
Just like perfectly nostalgic.
It's got all the flavors that I think we're all craving this year more than ever.
Yeah. I would agree. These potatoes, it really does. One of the things I love about this combination of recipes is you almost can't believe how simple it is, but kind of the same thing, like flavors I know I already love. Yeah. Made in a whole new way. So I'm diving in. Yeah. I'm sorry that I get to taste 300 things. And
for me, when I the aroma of my home when something's roasting on Thanksgiving, it's usually sage. I have that because it's so to me there's something about that smell. So what Brooke and I are trying to say is that this is, no matter what you can find in your grocery store, whether you're going to make the traditional 20-pound bird or you want to go this new direction and do a couple of chickens and a sheet pan full of sides, it's all going to be those same familiar flavors. It's still Thanksgiving, and it's all about getting everybody around the table that we can get close to this year. And celebrate, in any way we can.
And, that has been the thing. And again, this is one of the reasons that I so love this idea is last year, after running around like a turkey with my head cut off, I declared to my children that I would be making changes that made it so that I had to be frenetic less and that I could sit down and be with them more. Yeah. And so I love traditional recipes. I love cooking for my people, but even more than that, I love spending time with my people and really being able to sit down and simmer in and just enjoy them. And so, I love this idea that I wouldn't have to be, completely panicked all morning, cooking left and right and never able to look in the eyes of my people. Yeah. So
agreed. Because I think at the end of the day, what really matters is that you are sitting down and you're not in there at the last minute scrambling or spending all the rest of the evening doing dishes.
Yes.
It's the memories are really about the people and breaking bread together, I think. So, I'm going to try to do some traditional things. I'm not going to put any pressure on myself. It'll still be fun. Whatever it turns out to be. I told you it's going to be non-traditional, traditional this year.
So are you doing friends since your son isn't home?
Yeah, so he's going to go somewhere to another family, and then my son, I said, invite some friends, and it seems he invited all of them. Oh. So I'm going to turn it into an open house. And so I'm going to go for my traditional sit-down dinner at 2 p.m. to doors open at 3 p.m., come when you can. So I'm sure some people will come for dessert. Some people will come fully stuffed and just come to say hi. But it is going to be non-traditional, and I'm rolling with it and looking forward to it. So I'll do what I can and hopefully have enough food.
I love that. And don't be surprised if I show up, Robin.
Oh, you should be there. I'll make sure I have a sheet pan full of goodies.
Sounds amazing. Well, I will bring the apple cider chicken so that you don't have to pick that, and we're girl.
I'm excited. I want to see if there's any more questions. How many people will your menu feed, Brooke?
This will comfortably feed 4. You could probably feed 6 if you really wanted to, depending on this, the sides. But this is like a perfect meal for 4 with a couple of leftovers for chicken sandwiches after.
And pies usually serve, well, in my house, they serve 4. But normally, it's somewhere, this is a light and fluffy pie, probably would serve about 8. or 6 with seconds. So if there's no more questions, though, I want to remind everyone to look for these recipes, take the pressure off yourself this year. Definitely try to win that $500 gift card for GoodCook products. You'll find the link for that below. And I just wish everybody a wonderful holiday season. Enjoy it, relax, kick back, know that it's going to turn out great. And with Brooke, do you have anything you want to add?
Thank you for letting me cook with you, and Merry Thanksgiving.
Oh, happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for letting me cook with you too, Brooke. Everything looked amazing. And thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next time.
All right, I think we did it.